I like the backdrop that you've got there, by the way. You've got it back on there, haven't you? Will that
Yeah.
stay on or will it not?
I got the controller here, so I like touch it every now and then if I do see it's off.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, getting into it. So you and I both had the honor and good fortune of meeting with the director of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth 2 months ago, almost exactly 2 months ago to the day,
Yeah.
and also
Yeah.
the voice actress Briana White.
Yeah.
And
Surprise guest.
yeah, I mean, big surprise all round considering the meeting itself. So we'll definitely touch on that later in this video because there's a lot to dig into and we probably won't get to cover it all in one video either. But round the corner, literally round the corner, by the time this video goes up, within a day or two, the New York Game Awards is on the horizon, which for me this is a weird one because we've just had a whole run up of gaming awards ceremonies at the end of last year, and yet they're still continuing on. Now, how they do things is irrelevant. At the end of the day, it's just very weird. 'Cause it almost feels like these guys are lagging behind.
Yeah.
Um, I you
Considering,
know,
yeah, the awards for last year, right? So it's like they're leading into this
yeah.
year. So,
I mean, it's
um,
it's all good for these games to continue to get recognition because it's not
yeah,
like there's a blockbuster game that comes out every single year. Although Grand Theft Auto is definitely the anticipated game for this year for sure.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so just going by the notes here, we've got for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at the New York Game Awards. It's nominated for Best Remake, Best
Mhm.
World, Best Acting for John Eric Bentley as Barrett Wallace, and
Nice.
Game of the Year. Now I had a few gripes with this, and again, it's the nominees. It's already the nominations. It's already been given. I think are fantastic, but best writing or best music, it wasn't nominated for. Now, best music, that's surprising because
Because it won the Game Awards, right? Right. Sorry. Yeah.
right, and world tour orchestras, carrying this soundtrack globally, and not just this one, but I mean the world tour for Final Fantasy VII Remake was huge, and it even got
Yeah.
delayed during 2020 due to COVID and stuff. But they carried it on, which that's in itself speaks for itself, in my opinion. So
Uh,
I was a bit, yeah, I found it a bit weird that it got left out of there. But all in all, does it have good chances? Because I would like to think John Eric Bentley takes it for best actor here. I think again, you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't have statistics. I don't have the data. Would you say Barrett is the most vocal character in Remake and Rebirth? Because it definitely seems that way. It always seems to be him that's number one carrying the message, especially in Remake, and number two, he's the one that puts his voice forward ahead of the others. He's not afraid to speak out when required. What do you think there?
yeah. I mean, we've talked about this previously, as well, but Cloud doesn't have many lines in like comparatively to any of the other characters, right? So Barrett does do a lot of the legwork, in terms of carrying the team. It's his mission that they're on to save the planet. Like he's the one who
Right.
gets that going. So he has the strongest motivations and kind of, this code of justice and like morals that kind of guide the group. So, and I think John's performance as Barrett in Remake and Rebirth really shines in that case, and they kind of understand all the voice actors. I think, for the game kind of shine and know the kind of tasks that they're being given by voice acting these characters, and his performance in Remake and Rebirth has definitely helped in making these games like memorable and doing justice to the legacy of Final Fantasy VII, as well. So I think he has a good chance, and fingers crossed, um, he gets that recognition, since he hasn't been nominated up until now, and um, I think he's nominated for the BAFTA that we've talked about as well later this year.
Yeah.
So
He
yeah,
is.
so that's good. In terms of the other, yeah, awards, that's a new category. Was that what was that first one that you mentioned just now? It was
Best remake,
best
world.
remake. Yeah.
Yep.
So those two, I don't think we've seen before, or it hasn't been like recognized more publicly than the New York Game Awards. So, best remake. What would even be in that category for last year, which is a bit strange.
That's what
but
I'm
yeah,
wondering. What I mean, again, I'm the amateur in the gaming world. You know, I play for, as we've discussed before, for good
yeah,
storytelling, overall experience. But I'm wondering what else was up there for.
yeah. I mean, yeah, there was Persona 3, which was a remake, Persona 3 Reloaded, and then I can't remember if there was like a slew of Nintendo games that they remade, like
Okay.
Mario RPG and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I feel like that's a slam dunk for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for sure.
Interesting. That's a
Yeah,
very confident statement to make. A slam dunk.
for
Wow.
for remake of the year. I mean, those are the only ones the other remakes that I've played. So I could be wrong. Someone can correct us in the comments below. But yeah, I just don't know if any other remake reaches that pedigree for Rebirth. This is
Fair
such a
enough.
big, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was something like, because I watched, and I'm too scared to play them, the Resident Evil games. But I watched not too long ago a couple of playthroughs on them, and they were remakes. And obviously, the remake, they looked stunning, visually at least as well. I thought, yeah, if it was something like that going up against remake or rebirth, then yeah, it'd probably have some tough competition. But just from your words alone, there's not much that we can think of that comes straight to mind that makes you think, oh wow, there's so many good ones to choose from. I guess we'll have to see, because I don't know how this award ceremony works either. I don't know if it's it doesn't seem community votes, if I'm on the track there, so I don't know how this is going to be chosen and decided. But I do echo the same sentiment. I would like to see John Eric Bentley take it for Best Actor as well. Just because, as we've said in the previous discussion, he carries not just the dialogue for the story and the narrative itself, but also your engagement as a player is definitely carried by Barrett. In battle, he's very, very vocal in battle. Cloud does become more vocal in battle. I will give him that. But Barrett he's the hype man. He's the one that he wants to raise the team's morale in its way, even when you're in the toughest of battles and you might be getting your ass kicked. Barrett's the guy that's shouting, "You got this!
You got this!" Yeah. He's also the one who can, he can buff himself to take team damage, or it's like his abilities as well. So,
you can. I just love that interaction when you switch between, because if you switch to Barrett, he will say, "Need my help, huh?"
But then if you my help, huh?
Him, he's then like, "You got this," which that's good momentum to carry forward, and I love seeing that. I also noticed. Go ahead.
Sorry. He's just on that. He's the pillar of the team for sure.
And
I love his relationship with the characters, but also the highlight in Rebirth is his relationship with Red 13, and how that develops as well, and how he was calling him like he wasn't addressing him by his name previously, but having gone on that buddy cop duo that they get put on multiple times in the game, he comes to recognize him and calls him, oh god, his name's slipping at the moment, Nanaki. And it's just that beautiful moment where in the final fight against Genova Sephiroth at the end, where they team up again in that, and he's just like, "Let's go, Nanaki," and it's just like, oh, it's just beautiful. So yeah,
it's great synergy for those guys. And they seem to hit it off straight away in remake as well. And obviously, my favorite live. It's just that how they just all automatically just came into banter. We've barely known each other. Like they've literally broke out of Shinra headquarters. They've rescued Aerith. They've saw him and like, okay, we'll rescue him too, and hopefully he doesn't kill us. He's this big, powerful beast, and they bring him along too. And then they jump in the car, and Barrett's like, can't this heap of shit go any faster? And his like says a 300-pound sack of it.
Yeah.
That's Red's response, like just like that. And then Barrett's like, hey, and it's
He's
okay.
like, oh yeah. It was something about weight, wasn't it? It was just like, oh yeah, maybe we've got too much weight or something, and it's just like, oh,
yeah.
So
I just thought that was great. Great dialogue, very witty, very quick. But again, you can't think of another voice for Barrett, and no one can do it better. And obviously, you had Advent Children, and I'll have to have a look. Pardon my ignorance. I don't know who did the voice acting for Barrett in Advent Children. It was good, and the Barrett that we see in Remake and Rebirth, that voice just seems to be an evolution from what we got in Advent Children, like bringing these guys to life in all dimensions, not just visually evolving, but, now they bring audio into the fray as well. It really opened up the world, and they got it right both times, be it the movie, be it the games, because, for a remake, you have to get these things on point, especially for a game where there was no audio for dialogues. That's a massive thing to get right. It'd be comparable to bringing an anime to live action and
100%.
Very hard to do. But no, I think they nailed it. John Eric Bentley, you just can't pick a better person for Barrett. I hope, I want to see, be it. It'd just be nice to see spin-offs or something where you still get to hear those voices again. Because I don't think we've had enough of them yet. At least I haven't anyway.
Yeah, I think we will talk about this more as well in regards to the meeting. But the passion that the team have felt in doing these remakes, they've definitely nailed the casting. I think because there was I think I just looked it up just now, but I think it's Bo Billingsley was the 2006 voice actor in Advent Children. And granted, I don't think he has that many lines in it. He's kind of there for one-liners, I think. So
he leaves phone call for Cloud when and it's a voicemail for Cloud.
Message when his
like,
his phone.
Oh, Cloud, I just found the biggest oil field your ass has ever seen. I remember the most random lines, but I loved it. Man.
I mean, they're good ones. They're really good ones.
And he calls Cloud Spiky in that. Sorry,
Spiky. Yeah, his nicknames are so good. But yeah, it's so interesting because I would also want to look and see what the Japanese. Actually, I can just do it now. Hold on. They even changed the Japanese voice actor. I think just more recently though. But for the English ones, I feel like they've absolutely nailed it. Because it was controversial when they recasted Cloud, because Cloud's previous voice actors for other projects like the movie Advent Children and other games that Cloud shows up in, like Kingdom Hearts and stuff, they recasted him for a remake. So I think they know that they kind of had to nail it for a game like Final Fantasy VII that wasn't voice acted, like you said, bringing it into the modern era with the production values that is expected of games now. They really needed to bring it, and I think people don't realize that. I think that Final Fantasy was such a long time. 7 was such a long time ago, and they were developing it in such a different time, and the standards were different. So so it's a cool progression, and the performances of Barrett and the whole team kind of just highlight that change in the gaming industry, I reckon. So sorry to tangent there, but yeah.
You made a good transition from Cloud Advent Children to Cloud Remake and Rebirth. Still great. Absolutely still great. And again, like the voice for Cloud in Advent Children was again amazing. Like you wouldn't have expected it, but at the same time, it was like exactly what you wanted to hear for that kind of character once you understand his personality and his origins and so forth. But the carry through has just been great. To bring this game to life, it truly has just been something special. The voices, the acting, the storytelling, the dialogues, they just go so far. I mean, who knows what we can expect for part 3? Because again, so much that's waiting to be discovered from what we know of the original Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation 1 to whatever twists they decide to put this time. I am really looking forward to it, but we still, as you said, have one more award ceremony this year, the BAFTA Game Awards, 8th of April. Even further down the line, 8th of April. So nominated for Artistic Achievement, Audio Achievement, Music, Narrative, Technical Achievement, Performing a Leading Role, that's Cody Christian as Cloud Strife, Supporting Role, John Eric Bentley, again as Barrett Wallace, and not Final Fantasy VII, but Evolving Game, Final Fantasy XIV Online, and, one that's very close to my heart, Sea of Thieves.
Yeah. So, I mean, that game has had a development. So I think Evolving Game Award is a good one for it. I think it's perfect for award to kind of encapsulate that game's kind of whole development cycle and its life. So that's really cool.
But wasn't nominated for Best Game at the BAFTA Awards.
Whereas Final Fantasy VII.
Nope. No nomination for Best.
Okay. No. Did you know who was nominated for that?
I can probably bring it up real quick.
I'll try bring it up as well.
Yeah, again, there's a whole tier of nominations here. So, you can kind of look at it and think, okay, well, they've got a fair shot at all these others. But it's just the magnitude of that game that we saw last year, where we saw it win Game of the Year across the board in all different ceremonies.
I think I do. 2025 BAFTA Best Game category, long list. Alphabetical order is Balatro.
Okay.
Black Myth Wukong. Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Okay. Helldivers 2, which I think was early last year, right? So it was 2023, 2024.
Still got some hype.
Yeah. Legends of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. And Metaphor, Refantasio, and Thank Goodness You're Here. Exclamation mark. And then Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2. And I think there's more to the list. That was the short list that I had.
Just some of those names alone, that's fair. But again, it just doesn't make sense that the game was left out from, best game. I mean, it is what it is. We can't really do anything about it. That's happened. So it'd be interesting to see where we go from there. But on the note of Metaphor, real quick, you've been playing that since Christmas, right?
Yes, I have. Yeah. Quite interesting. I think I definitely went into it with a bit of a lens, just given our discussion. So I do think it doesn't for Game of the Year. I still think that it may not be as good as some of the other nominees there, and I'm not sure how it stacks up with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I don't think it hits the same highs, but it also doesn't have that nostalgia factor to restrict people from playing it. It's a completely fresh take, and I did enjoy that, where I didn't feel like I had a previous investment in it that carried over. So that was really interesting, and the gameplay, though, I feel like it has evolved from Persona 3 or the Persona titles, but it's still basically the same. But I think because it's a standalone game, it doesn't hold anything back, and I feel like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because of its legacy, has held some of its bigger story beats and payoffs till a bit later. Obviously to retell the story. So I don't know. I'm still on the fence about it, but I still have to finish it. But yeah, it's interesting.
What about the storytelling? How's that in? Would you say Metaphor? Is it up there for you? Yeah, is it up there, or is it
storytelling? It is up there. It's better than most Persona games, I would say, that I've played. But in terms of the progression of the story, I think it still kind of hits the same lags and tropes you'll find it interesting because I think they borrow a lot from the legacy of Final Fantasy VII because there's like an animal companion or animal-ish companions because there's different races in the world. So um, and then also there's a character called Loveless, and then there's a place called the Honeybee Inn. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, they're ripping straight from Final Fantasy here. But yeah, I mean, you can pick. I can nitpick all day about stuff like that. But I think just from my perspective, it doesn't it should be a nominee, I think, for Game of the Year. But I'm not sure
Okay.
if it is my Game of the Year for 2024. So, but yeah,
No, but that's good to know that you think it merits a nomination. I think
yeah,
that's great then. And the the option of choice, I guess that's also a good thing. Just
yeah,
again, don't really want to go down that rabbit hole without evidence, as we said before. Of is there favoritism or some sort of politics going on at especially the Game Awards?
yeah,
It's the only one best score in music at the Game Awards of 2024. Which
yeah,
again, there's so much more to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth to just
yeah,
have best score in music. Golden
yeah.
Joystick Awards. I believe that ceremony was 2 days after we met with Hamaguchi-san and Briana White, if I
It's
remember
because
correctly.
they were here for it, so
Yeah,
they held
they
this
were there
event
in London.
because yeah,
I mean, great timing, especially for
yeah,
us
it
overall.
was awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they racked up 4 awards from there as well.
yeah,
Best
yeah,
soundtrack, best storytelling, best lead performer for Cody Christian, best supporting performer for Brianna White. And again, just in she, again, going on to voices, but there definitely is something unique and magical because when you speak to Brianna in person, she's got a great voice, very gentle, very soft. It's very easy on the ears. It's that kind of voice that would probably put you to sleep if she read you a bedtime story at 9 o'clock in the morning.
yeah,
And I don't mean that in a boring way. I mean, like, it's
yeah,
just so soft and beautiful. You just be like, okay, I'm out. I can do another 8 hours.
yeah,
Um, but then when she dials it up for Aerith, that voice is something else. And again, it does transition from, I don't know the actor in Advent Children, but it transitions and evolves nicely. Absolutely nailed it. So,
yeah. The
yeah, Cody
consistency
Christian.
between those, like yeah, as you said, the evolution from Advent Children and Rebirth remake. It's just like yeah, whoever the people who do the voice acting, um, capture the character of Aerith so well in their performances that it does because as you said when we spoke to Brianna, it's not like she was Aerith or anything like that. She had her own like voice, but as you said, she dials it out for Aerith, so she has that knowledge of Aerith's character and investment in it. So and she really
So well.
understands it. I think so. Yeah, shows
And
in her
so we've
performance. So, yeah,
seen Yuffie take awards. We saw uh Britt Baron as Tifa as well at the Grand Game Awards. That was best supporting performance. Best video game character of the year was Sephiroth at the
oh,
Grand Awards as well. That was
oh,
Grand Game.
nice.
I mean, he's so iconic in his own
Yeah,
way. I mean, did you see when he came onto Smash Bros for the first time?
yeah. That was
I
that was
mean,
sick.
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I mean, just the build up, the entrance, the power
yeah,
level. I love using Cloud on there. I think he's
yeah,
epic, and I know that they had to, nerf him a little bit from the original because of how good he was. But yeah, I need warming up now. But man, I used to slap hard with Cloud on Smash Bros. My friends
nice,
in the
nice.
US,
Yeah,
if we have the recordings from the Switch, man, we had some very close battles where we brought in CPU players as well, and we put it on the hardest mode that we could master in terms of playing at the time. And I
yeah,
still remember I managed to take one with like Cloud's final smash or limit break at the end,
yeah,
where it was neck and neck. I was about to get wiped, and at the very last minute, I activated it and I took it. And it's just like I still remember the living room nearly going upside down because of like the hysterics we were all in. But Sephiroth coming onto the scene for the Nintendo Switch, big.
oh,
And the funny
that
thing is,
was
he's carried throughout the internet. The Donkey Kong song,
yeah,
the Donkey Kong rap.
yeah, yeah,
Someone's
Um,
taken the lyrics from the DK rap and they played it over the One Winged Angel soundtrack.
oh my goodness, seriously.
Yeah, like, it's yeah,
What?
it
Oh,
works. I can't play it for copyright reasons,
yeah.
obviously.
Oh, I'm gonna
Not
have to
that
give that a
it's
listen.
an official song, but it's two official songs
Yeah.
overlapping, so it could be
So
double copyright. But it's a real thing.
yeah,
Sephiroth is becoming a household name in the world of gaming.
yeah,
Love to see it, man. Absolutely love to see it.
yeah. I'm glad he got that award. I that's my my radar there for the Grand Awards though. But yeah, as you said, yeah, Sephiroth is insanely. The whole cast that we keep talking about is just so iconic. Like they're so
Right.
recognizable.
And he's
But
an
man,
absolute menace. Sephiroth
yeah,
is in Final Fantasy Remake and Rebirth. He
yeah. And in Smash, he's a pretty tough character in there as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it not like, I mean, how can I put it? In the original, he's there. He's insanely hard to take on in battle in the
yeah,
original, especially with Genova as well. But just the voices alone I mean, the first scene where you see him in Remake in the flames, I
yeah.
believe, no, after, but you see him in the flames where Cloud's stumbling through Midgar. I
Yeah,
mean, they
right,
did
right,
that
right at the
so
start. You don't really expected him to be there.
no, and it was so
Yeah,
foreboding. It's
mm,
borderline something you could put into a horror movie and it would work. So
yeah,
absolutely love it. But while the night is getting darker here, I think we should touch on the evening we had with Hamaguchi-san and Briana
yeah,
White. So yeah,
yes.
2 months ago to the date, London, we were reached out to, I believe, was it November 19th?
Yeah, it's not.
To
Yeah, so we only had a couple of days of notice for the actual
Yeah,
meeting
so
itself. So
contacted the day before, had to confirm by 5 p.m. It's a surreal experience, really, because it's weird. I look back and it felt like a summer afternoon because it was quite bright here when I found out.
yeah,
And I remember being sat in my kitchen and I was about to head back up to my office, and then I opened the laptop. I was messaging some friends, and I saw the message come through, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do this. I either drive to London tonight or I do it tomorrow. Either way, it's gonna be six. Um, it was worth it, man. For her 6 hour drive, it was absolutely worth it. It was, for me at least, it was not what I was expecting. A very
100%. Yeah,
intimate affair, a very, very intimate affair. I mean, we're in this private room having afternoon tea at 5 p.m. and it was good tea. I don't drink tea religiously, but it was bloody good tea
it
as a
was bloody good. It was a bloody good afternoon tea. Yeah,
And even the snacks were great too, but
yeah,
it was just very intimate. I mean, we can see if we can edit some photos in here that
yeah,
Final Fantasy and Square took and uploaded in, but very intimate affair. And just great dialogue all around. I know there was obviously a bit of, I guess you could say, nervousness, or people were
yeah.
just unsure of how to approach it. Obviously, they didn't want us to ask anything really about the third
Part
chapter of
three.
the game,
Yeah,
which, okay, that's fine, because when you're still building momentum from the current sequel, you don't want to then try and shift that to something else. I completely respect that.
yeah,
But for me going down there, one of the things was I was thinking, and again, this is just my experience in business, was I really wanted to know what it was like for these guys working as a team. I didn't ask all the questions that were coming to mind because I wanted to be sparing and also give other people the floor.
yeah,
But yeah, I used to think to myself, and I still do, for teams to create a masterpiece like Remake and Rebirth, not
yeah.
what it take with technology and the skill level, but also what does it take in terms of the team chemistry. And there's got to be some either spoken or unspoken rules that these people can come together and they just work well, and maybe they even clash heads and argue and debate, but they know that all the same there's a bigger picture here that everyone's working towards. I could be wrong there, but it just gives me that impression.
Yeah.
What what was it like for you? Was you, just, or even better yet, just tell me how it was from the start to when you got there, because
Start.
I'm curious.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like to tell this story because it's just so funny because it was as you said, the experience was so surreal that um it was almost dreamlike, like those dreamlike kind of sessions that you see in the video games that the characters experience. Because yeah, we got chosen 3 days before the event, and my like I don't have a huge like social media presence at all, so I was so surprised with the questions that we were like the task that we were set by the team to get chosen was to ask two like questions about to send in your questions, and yeah, I just haphazardly asked where we were. Number one was where we're going for afternoon tea, and, and then number two was a set of questions about like the legacy of Final Fantasy and how things like how it was to develop the game in 1997 now, and then also how the compilations kind of fit in. And I was so surprised to get chosen. Like it was absolutely mental. I thought, and I was telling everybody at work, and I was trying to get the day off as well, but it was too short notice. And I actually replied to Sunil a little too late. It was because I only saw the message at like 5 o'clock on the dot. So I was begging him to be like, oh, if the spot's open, please let me in. And he was very kind to let me know that I still had a spot, and it was all good. But yeah, and then I got there. I think I was the first one there on the day at the Shakespeare Globe, or the next to the Shakespeare Globe.
I might beat you from that, but I was there super early, so I went into the Tate Museum and had a look.
Yeah.
I was there around 3:30.
Yeah, I think I was there around 4. Sorry, excuse me. But yeah, and then I was just walking around, and I went in, and I was like, I'm here for the Square Enix event, and the staff were just kind of bewildered to be like, I don't think you're in the right place or anything like that. So I was freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, I had the same. I asked and I said Square Enix Final Fantasy VII, showed them the message that I had back and forth with the Final Fantasy team, and they were like, okay, we'll find out for you. And like, why don't you just take a seat in the bar? I'm like, okay, cool. And I sat in the bar, and then I saw Sunil come down with but I didn't know who Sunil was by face, only by name. But he came down with a clipboard, and I thought, okay, if there's going to be anyone, that's going to be the guy. So I'm going to put a metaphorical pin in him. And waiters came over and asked, can I get you an order? I'm like, well, no, but you can help me with this. And I showed him, and then he's like, oh no, you need to go into the actual Globe Theatre. I was like,
oh, what?
Yeah, and I was like, well, that doesn't sound right, but no, just to exhaust options, I'm going to do it. So I went in there, asked the guy at the help desk, and I said, I can't really tell you why I'm here, but I kind of have to. So, I'm trusting your discretion here. And he was like, okay. And I told him, I said, I'm here to meet with the team from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for a meeting. And he was like, no, we're not doing that here, but I'm really jealous and I kind of want to follow you. And I was like, okay, this is a great start.
We might have a tag along, yeah. Oh,
and then I saw you come up actually, and I saw another group around. And I was like, okay, maybe this has got to be it. And then that's when I ended up just approaching, and then Sunil said, like, are you here for this? And I was like, okay, that's it. Yeah. It's all done and dusted.
So, that's when the nerves like disappeared, when the other people showed up with Final Fantasy shirts like us. And then I was like, okay, I'm in the right place. So
yeah, the interesting thing was that there was a booth opposite to say my 2:00 or even 2:00 where I was sitting facing. There was a booth with 3 or 4 youngish lads in there, and they were actually talking about Final Fantasy VII and gaming.
Wow.
I was like, oh, are they already here for it? Is this going to be in? So I was kind of clocking that to begin with.
Yeah.
But it turned wasn't. Imagine if they were there not knowing it happened. That's I mean, you'd be mad, right?
Would they? Yeah, you'd be mad. I mean, they would have. Were they? They're still there when Hamaguchi-san showed up, or?
I thought he was there before I was. I honestly thought he was, because when I got there, I sat down opposite the bar on the long bench table, and I watched all you guys come up through the stairs. But don't remember. Maybe he did come up through there as well. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Sunhill was already up there though beforehand.
Yeah.
Sunhill
Yeah.
down.
I figured that,
Well,
yeah, but he did come down to at least to say hi to us before. That's when I thought he first arrived, because I thought we
oh
were
no
waiting
way.
for him, because he waved, and then the translators were there as well, and they went out.
So
So
I didn't see that then, because I'll be honest, I
yeah,
even went downstairs like bang on 4:45 and stood
yeah,
outside in case, I had got it wrong and I should have stood outside. I had no idea. But anyways, it was fine. It's getting up there.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
intimate there.
Very
Um,
intimate. Yeah, we had a special room, like with
yeah.
overlooking the Shakespeare Globe. And we were served a very, very nice afternoon tea with the British afternoon tea, with all the bells and whistles and all the cakes and drinks. So that was really
Those
cool.
were good cakes, and the tea
Yeah, they
was
were really good.
honestly,
And
the tea was notch.
yeah, I mean, they took everyone's order like special, right? They were like, which tea did you want? And there was that whole discussion about, because everyone was so nervous at the start. No one wanted to like, no one knew what was like available. Because yeah, we waited for a while, but then we got not rushed in, but we just got seated, and then everyone was nervous. But yeah, it was that energy was like just remembering it was just really funny to remember that how nervous I was personally just going into that room.
I mean, I knew
Um,
straight away it was going to be an English breakfast tea, so I got that dialed in.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I remember
yeah,
calling it for my American friend next to me because he looked
yeah, yeah,
he looked at it
yeah,
and I was like, "Don't worry, I got this. I'm British."
yeah, yeah. I mean, I also expected that, but yeah, I just didn't think it was going to be like the full plates on the stacked um uh
That's the
uh
only way you can
carriers
do
and stuff.
afternoon tea, man.
Yeah,
That's the only
yeah.
way.
Yeah. And then I overheard Hamaguchi-san was very interested in the presentation, because I'm not sure he's had a afternoon tea previously. So he was really interested when it first came out. I think he said like sugoi, which is like awesome, or like wow,
Yeah,
I think. So
pretty much.
yeah.
It means
Yeah.
sugoi. Literally, it's great when you hear it in like an anime
Yeah.
because it almost sounds like so good, which is almost a mirror
Yeah, yeah.
translation. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a whole etiquette to afternoon tea, believe it or not. In terms of
Yeah.
like what you eat first, where you place things as well.
It's like
Um,
butter, but is it cream or jam on the scones
yeah.
as well?
So that's up for debate. Depends if you're from
Sorry, yeah.
Cornwall or Devon. They
Yeah.
fight over that.
Yeah.
I'm a barbarian, so I don't. I'm a caveman. I don't care. I just whatever goes on, goes on. I love a good scone, especially a homemade one. I
Yeah.
rarely drink tea. I've never drank coffee in my life, but if you give me a good breakfast tea, I will
Yeah.
sing its praises until my dying day.
Yeah.
But the one thing that is a big no-no is stirring your tea, an afternoon tea. It's supposed to be, so if you put sugar in, then you're supposed to just swish the spoon backwards and forwards because it doesn't create splashing. Whereas if you stir it, you create a
Yeah.
vortex. It can splash out of your mug, so to speak, or
Oh,
your tea.
fun
So
fact.
I was
Oh
very
man.
careful to do the back and forward strokes just to pretend I was, a bit posh. And, I just left Buckingham Palace,
Yeah.
after a
You,
long shift there, and I
yeah.
hadn't. But, they don't know
Yeah.
that. Um,
Yeah. You got to
yeah,
represent, right? Because yeah,
it's,
there was a lot of I mean, the majority of us were from London, right? But there was a lot more people from America than I would have. Like one guy flew in that
yeah,
day, right, all the way
left
from the
his wife,
States. So yeah.
left his
Yeah.
wife at Starbucks.
Yeah,
Some
true. Yeah.
priorities just can't be
Yeah.
matched in life.
Yes. Oh yeah, he was the first one I met actually. Yes, that's right. Yeah. I
Okay.
forget his name, but yeah, I'll have to look it up after this. But
Andrew, I
yeah.
believe it was.
Yes, Andrew. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of
And
A
yeah.
around that day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what
Oh
was it?
yeah.
I was wanting to find out more than anything. Did you get the answers, or did you get the questions aside from anything to do with part 3? Did you get the questions that you really want answered by Hamaguchi-san?
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, that was a tough one. Because obviously it was kind of a free for all in how we were allowed to ask questions when it came down to it. And then we did say they went around the room. They asked spoilers first if everyone finished the game, and then they went around the room asking people's like favorite scenes slash moments in the game, which took a bit of time. But I think one of the big questions that I asked was like the vision of the game in regards to like how different they feel, because remake was so like story based and kind of linear for the most part. Like you were
Yes.
you were kind of doing the checklist as they kind of intended you to, and follow the story beats. And there wasn't much kind of exploration of freedom in compared to Rebirth.
Right.
And my question was just in regards to development, like was that always planned? Because it recaptured kind of the feeling of how you did it in the original, where you left Midgard and then the whole kind of world kind of opened up. And I just kind of wanted to know if that was their intention, which when I think about it now is probably a silly question, because it was Hamaguchi did say that it was like that stuff that they had like they definitely had that planned in like pre-production and stuff, and that's exactly what they were going for. So
it's a perfect segue though, when you think about it, because you're on the nail on the head there. With remake was linear, but you felt so tied and immersed in the story itself. That's one thing I was thinking about this today. When I was just up and around the garden and stuff, and I was thinking to myself that there is definitely a distinct experience between remake and rebirth, because remake, you are fully in the story, man. Like every moment of it, the emotion,
100%, yeah,
it's gripping. Even if you've played the original, it's kind of like you still don't know what you're expecting. It's so weird in that sense, but you do. But at the same time, it's still novel. The feeling is still novel. That's the great part.
Yeah.
And just the way then it leaves off, where they, you get to the end of the expressway, and then you fight the Whisperers, or Whisperers, whatever they're called. And then you have that very brief first battle with Sephiroth, which you wouldn't expect to have, of course.
Yeah.
You have it, and it's a great battle. And then, you have that almost consciousness battle like you have at the end of the original 7, but instead this time you're having it with Sephiroth in that moment. Obviously,
so far early, like much earlier than you would have expected. So yeah,
but so good. For a cutscene.
And then they do that whole like the flash between them, like when they're having that one-on-one, where it's just like it was so good. And then he has that line about having 7 seconds to change something
till the end. 7
is
till the end. But it's just the way they tied up, and then obviously they're on the edge of Midgard, and Aerith says she misses a steel skies. It starts to rain down on them, and obviously they're looking out then, and so that come Rebirth, that's it. You're going into the grass plains. You're going into the open world. It's a genius way, and maybe it's a super obvious way for them to do it, but still, it transitions you in so nicely. So, I don't think it's a stupid question, and that the answer was already there. It's still, I don't know, it's still good to get that thought process back from them, because they had the whole idea from the beginning, and now they just have to break it up into 3 pieces and decide what's the order to this.
Yeah. So I felt good at the time just to get that confirmation, because just to know that the team has that intention. Because there was previous questions to mine about how the team like chose what to work on and what was important, and the structure of the whole development team and what their goals were. But for me, it just solidified how well this development team and the directors and everyone working on it really knows kind of the brief. For the legacy of what they're trying to remake or redo. So, So and it kind of summed up the whole experience for me, because it was just that overwhelming confidence and it's confidence, in the team and what they're trying to achieve. Just knowing that, Final Fantasy VII's in good hands, I think was what I'm trying to get at. But
oh no, and absolutely, I do believe it's in the best of hands. And it's easy to say that while there's been 2 releases, and that could also be up for debate. But so far, I don't see anyone would complain about the current team that there is. And again, could be wrong, but I certainly don't. I did like knowing, a little bit about the team dynamics there, because I know others asked questions about that, and they talked about it in general as well. Yeah. Because, from a director perspective, you are overseeing a lot, but you also have to, same as in business, you have to give up a lot of trust to the team, because you can't do everything. You have to delegate as a director and sort of just oversee. You also have to let things play out to a certain point where maybe in the beginning you might look at it and think that's going to go bad, but you just don't know. Sometimes you've got to let it go a bit further, let the course correct itself. Yeah. And in a business, it's very easy to be on top of it in a business, because you kind of have a roadmap of where you're going, where the product's being developed, and where you take it to market. With a game, a movie, man, I imagine that's something, entirely different in itself. I would imagine that you kind of have to agree on what the storyboarding will be and the plot line, let it go out there to the team, and then just wait and sit and wait for it to come back. I mean, that's kind of what Hamaguchi-san said it was like, was letting the team come back to him with, this is what we've done for this arc, this is what we've done for the battle system. I mean, that's a lot to process personally. Yeah. I think a lot, but the fact they had, just touching on now, they had fun with it at the same time. I'm going to bring up the part about them going to Hamaguchi-san and saying it's important for us that we put Red 13 on a chocobo just because he gets to ride a chocobo like the rest. I mean, because when I saw that, by the way, I was like, oh man, aesthetically this looks awful. Like, in this day and age of gaming, like, they could make anything look great, and this clearly was almost like their little way of memeing or trolling. It was fun when you look back, but it doesn't look great the way you see him sat on.
No,
he's like,
no,
that
it doesn't look comfortable for sure. Yeah,
not exactly that thing. It looked absolutely.
But they had a lot of fun with Red because of obviously the chocobo, but then also the dancing and the Queen's Blood which they mentioned. So and I think it just touches back to the style of the director, in this case Hamaguchi-san, in letting that creative freedom to the team, where he was saying just from what I remember, he said that he lets the teams kind of flourish with their ideas, and he's the one who decides what, and they come to him and he decides what goes in and what doesn't for the sake of continuity and kind of development. So and I think that's what's kind of lost in games sometimes these days, where it's because they've become like a production line that those like little quirks and like character like cool character things. Just trying to remember now, because vaguely I think they mentioned how before, like in 1997, they would be task like orientated, and they would just need to fill out certain codes or fill out time in games. So they would add like a weird side quest or like something but that actually it helped to build the character of the game. But now, because they have such a direction here that they're just trying to cram so much stuff in, like it's hard to. I think Hamaguchi-san does a good job of kind of cutting out the excess maybe, or saving it for DLC or the next game. So but to have that vision from the start is crazy.
We won't be getting DLC for this one, but I'm not mad, because it's such a vast game anyway. It takes a lot. I think they're making the right move here, just going straight for the third chapter, because we don't know if they have plans for anything else after that. But I think in itself, good move, because that was one question I was going to ask, by the way, while we were there. Would we see, kind of like what we had with the Integrate Edition with Remake? But at the same time, I had other questions coursing through. And, because if the answer would have just been a flat no, then, it wouldn't really make for a good, it wouldn't make a bad memory, but in terms of a good conversation, it's a flat out no. What else can I say? Oh, why won't you do that? And then he gives the answer that he's given recently is, well, we just want to get knuckled down with the third chapter. There's not really much more you can do with that. I thought Brianna's question to him was great about the chocobos, because I didn't even notice this, to be fair. I just thought it was a thing, a design aesthetic. But we're saying like the fully grown chocobos just have exposed tails. The baby chocobos have some sort of shell on their butts.
Yeah.
Apparently,
they were born with it, I think was what he said, and then they kind of outgrow it, which was really funny. And the question, I think, caught him really off guard. And it was such a good question. I think caught everyone on guard, but it was so funny that it kind of let that group kind of ease into our nervousness a bit. So it was a good icebreaker. Yeah.
I thought, if you looked at it through your imagination, maybe it's, if they're born with it, I thought maybe do they hatch from it and it's still that piece that's stuck onto them and it drops as they get older. Like, you just don't know. But it nice little detail. Something that I certainly didn't really pay too much attention to. I noticed obviously there's a clear design difference, but I didn't think beyond that. I just thought, okay, it is what it is. The fact that someone asked a question and it's one of his own team members, that's bloody brilliant, because it even has them wondering, you'd think, oh, they must know everything about the game because they work on it. But no, they've got a big job to do themselves, which is the voice, the acting. So they probably don't get time to investigate all these mechanics. So it was, it was very human to see it.
It's cool because it kind of humbles me in the way of, because I play games. It's not the same as other people, so it was cool that Brianna brought that up. I thought because I did notice I noticed the egg, the corn, the egg on their butts, but I didn't think to ask about it or anything like that. I was kind of more serious,
right?
But yeah, it was cool.
I mean, other than that, did you like, we're taking away from the humorous and the human element? Did you ask any other questions that come to mind? Because I've got my memories of my own, but as I said to you earlier, it's very hard for me to recall. One of the conversations that I did like that took place, again, wasn't from either of us, but unless it was from you, and you have to forgive me if I got it wrong, was that how he, talked about, and it was another player that noticed this, that they really managed to keep that connection feeling in the game of Rebirth, because in the game of Remake, you've got the storytelling and the emotion that keeps you, joined to the characters. In this one, because it's open world, there's a lot of exploring where it does veer away momentarily from the main plot, because, you're doing side quests, you're doing activities, you're just exploring lands, and then it can be a while before you get back onto the path of the main story. And so when it was brought up that, these guys, they made it a point to have all the party members traveling together visibly, which you didn't have in the original, because they just used to extend out of Cloud, who you'd be controlling at the time. But, in this one, they're traveling together. If a battle ensues on the world map, those who aren't active in the battle party will still stand on the outside. And correct me if I'm wrong, even if you don't have Aerith in your main party, she will still, I don't think they do much damage, if any at all, but I'm sure Aerith still fires off from her rod into the battlefield while she's on the outskirts, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I personally haven't. I think I've seen it, but I can't confirm. But I've definitely noticed Barrett not being in my core 3 and still firing off rounds into enemies. Very, very I think it's only 2 digits. Like it's only 13 damage or something like that. But they are still active, and they're also in the background, very far in the background. But that was one of the cool questions that was asked, and how, because in other RPGs you have to choose a core 4 or core 3, and then the other party members are just also gaining experience, but they're not in the fight. You're just assuming they are for story purposes. So that was a cool immersion question, that came from it. And I think
real. If you looked at it from a real life perspective, if we're in
the whole team's involved, right? Yeah.
You wouldn't just disappear. If you was a group of 8 and you said, okay, we're gonna go and fight these stray dogs. Everyone will be there, still visible.
Yeah, you guys just have some tea or take a break or something. Yeah. Yeah,
I like that. But I did.
But I think following on from either my question or that question, I think you said with how linear Remake was and how open the Rebirth was that there was that answer of the focus of bonds, and I think the Japanese word is kizuna. So it's like the focus, the core focus of Rebirth was to highlight the relationship between the characters, and that was like at the core of their development, obviously. So with that, they added like in the battle system the synergy attacks,
Yes.
and that's kind of evolved quite a lot from Remake, which was really cool.
It's just so great, man. It's just
Yeah,
so, because the visual, it's so pleasing to watch. Like, you kind of want to go out your way to get, because you don't need. I'll be honest. When I first played through, I barely used synergy unless it just happened upon
yeah,
accident.
yeah,
Otherwise, like, I have my strategy. I'm going at it. So I barely used it. But when you do use it, it's like, even if you don't need to, you'll go out your way to, because it's bloody awesome and it's so
yeah,
satisfying to watch. It really,
yeah,
really is, man.
yeah.
Do you have a favorite
It's
synergy?
I like the one that they mentioned as well. I like I think my favorite and most used one is Cloud and Tifa's, but my favorite one to watch is Aerith's and Barrett's one where they do the combo with the sunglasses at the end. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's different to the one where, because there's one where the force of Barrett nearly knocks Aerith over and he catches her by the hand. I think
yeah.
that's a different synergy attack,
Is
is
that
it?
this? Yeah.
Or is it?
Because they only have one synergy attack per team up, don't they? Oh
No,
no,
it
wait.
must be.
They have like a different. They have the refocus, which gives them 3 ATB.
Yeah,
And then they have their own like special
yeah.
one. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, I think I
Cloud and Teeth one I do like. I also
yeah
do like Red and Barrett though. I think theirs is
yes
pretty
yeah
cool.
yeah yeah
Yeah, it's a bit of a
yeah
powerhouse move. So
yeah.
big fan of that. Yeah, synergy. I imagine
It's
they're gonna
so
keep it.
yeah, it's so cinematic, like you said. It's just like reminds me of Advent Children, and it's just like they capture that people wanted that game, that movie to be a game, right? So it's just like, oh, they're kind of hitting the nostalgia pretty well with those synergy attacks. So
Nail on the head.
um,
But it's
yeah,
a great way, like you said, to keep some sense of connectivity and immersion in an open world game versus where you're on track with the story all the time in remake. So it was good that they thought of that, and obviously now they can carry that through to part three, no problems, because they already have the model, the foundation for it. Even if they didn't go out their way to do anything on top, it wouldn't bother me personally. I think, it's good as it is. I know there's been critiques of the battle system. Um,
right.
I didn't really definitely didn't have any for remake. For Rebirth, there was just times where once you go into battle in open world and there's multiple enemies, the pan of the camera was a bit, I don't know, just I found I had to keep manually adjusting it to actually see the target I was hitting, because it wasn't really
Yeah,
pointing. It was more the angle. It just had it in such a bad way that when you enter the battle, you just don't really have a good visual on who's around and who you're attacking. But other than that, you can change that, and that I'm sure they'll work on things like that anyway in part three. But I've got
yeah.
no complaints. I think the only complaints I do have, which you heard me say before, is people still think it's bloody turn based, and it's not.
It's not. No,
It's
they
not.
need to. Yeah, it needs to be described as something different, like almost separate to
Yeah, I mean, look, when you
that
look at a game
before.
like that,
So yeah,
surely you would look at that and think, how could it be turn based? I
uh,
mean, when you see that battle taking place, how the hell can that be turn based? It just doesn't make any sense. But
yeah,
anyway, I
it
digress.
yeah. But yeah, there was a lot of other cool questions I think that we can just touch on. I think because of like obviously the connectivity, um, they wanted to also give the party like time to connect and situations where they were given some downtime to kind of talk. So I think the Costa del Sol, that was cool. And how they said I think there was a question about the what are they called, the scooters,
Well,
the
the
buggies that we
segues.
rode, the segways.
Yeah,
That's right, yeah.
yeah.
And then how it was inspired by like resorts like Hawaii, obviously. So that was cool. And so I'm just looking at my notes here as well. But yeah, I think that was kind of all in their vision to make this game kind of more about the party in leading up to what's going to happen to them, obviously. So
It made
yeah,
sense from perspective, because obviously, oh man, do we talk about spoilers on this with the upcoming release on PC or not?
Yeah, I don't know.
I won't say any more
Yeah,
than that.
yeah.
I
Considering we haven't this far, yeah, we'll just keep it spoiler free for now. So,
yeah, and so I'm saying that I'm not going to reveal too much then from when I asked about, because that was also a thing to me. It's because it's storytelling, and being somewhat of a writer myself it's a big interest to me. So the reason why I asked Hamaguchi-san was there a scene or elements of the game that had a massive impact on you, be it emotional or something else? I was wondering. My reason for asking that was, again, I have to separate it from a director position of a business versus, a production. I wanted to know just how involved and how immersed they felt to the world of Final Fantasy. Because, in the business world, you just get hired to do a job, right? And you might not really care about the product, but if you're good at business and that particular model, you can go in there, do it. You might not be the biggest, let's say, I don't know, fan of, you might not wear trainers or sneakers that often, but you could run Nike, that kind of mentality. Whereas with a game, I was thinking like, how much do you have to love this game to be able to do it? And so the reason I came to that question was, if there is something where you would watch a scene or know a part of the story as the director or staff member, and it has an impact on you, then it does show that you're invested in it more than just as a business, but as an emotion. There's something heartfelt there. I wasn't expecting him, then just so people know, when I asked what was the most impactful scene or moment of the game, correct me if my memory is wrong here, but he touched on the arc where you see the play Loveless take place on the Golden Saucer with Aerith and characters that have since passed from Remake. And it made sense when he started detailing that, because it's a very emotional scene. There's a lot of, like I said, I don't want to name characters or anything, but there's definitely characters who are no longer with the story, and whether they're big characters or small characters, it still makes you remember, and it still makes you remember parts from Remake, which I thought was really, really powerful, that they're able to tie that back in to have those memories. And then it's almost like there's this, unspoken goodbye taking place at the same time. When you're watching the performance of Loveless, and the singing's fantastic as well. There's just this whole, it's just this story within a story unfolding.
Yeah, there's just so much foreshadowing in that last visit to, the Golden Saucer and that play. I think we did, that was, when you asked that question, I think everybody agreed that run up to the end game is so like beautifully written and like paced. And that kind of hits all of the feelings and the stages of, of anxiety, of anxiousness.
Until afterwards, it's more of a hindsight moment for me, because you still don't fully know what's coming around the corner from there. Like, where the team's going, where the party's going, but you don't know how the game's going to end up when it concludes part 2. So it was only looking back where I thought, they placed that so well, and they know what they were doing there. But at the time, because, you still got a lot of journeying to do to carry on towards the end of the game. It's still quite, you're putting in several hours just to get there. And so at the moment, it's just like, okay, that was really emotional. That was really heartwarming. But then you're back into it. You're getting back on with the game. You're still, pursuing Sephiroth and so on. And you just don't think anything of it until, having that conversation, and you're like, I can see exactly why they did all that now. It was, very, very emotional.
Yeah, I think that's their whole goal, is to just be more thought-provoking and garner this discussion with its fans, because that's kind of its strength. And that's kind of what's kept it going, its legacy going since its original release. So they're kind of giving us fans plenty of stuff to digest and think about. So
I mean, one thing I would like to see, just, wrapping up this segment of the evening and meeting that we had with them. I mean, the photos and all that stuff was cool. We'll try and get some of these photos included in the edit if we can. There was some very good photos with a miniature Buster Sword and stuff.
Yes,
Um,
everyone's photos were so cool. Yeah, that they took.
Mine weren't great, but again, like, I don't blame Sunil. I looked very tired, but also when you hold the camera landscape to take
Yeah,
photos, like we
yeah.
all look well, I look very stretched. Someone actually said to me, like, why are you standing so far away from, did you not want to be in a photo? I'm like, nah, dude, it's just how the photo was taken.
Yeah,
But no, I got a lot of respect for Sunil putting that together,
yeah. It was amazing
as
event, honestly. Yeah, it must have been short notice for them as well. So to be able to do that, it just shows you
absolutely.
kind of their commitment to the fans. And wanting to do an event. Obviously, the Game Awards events they held in the States was much bigger. I don't know if I think we spoke about it vaguely, but they had a much bigger event. But obviously, yeah.
I prefer what we
Our
had. I was
yeah, our
tempted
intimate
to
event
take the flight.
must have been much more intimate, and like we got a better game. I personally felt more of a connection to Hamaguchi-san just because of how close we were in talking in that small room that we had. So
Yeah, I was tempted to catch the flight. It's too much of a long one though to go to LA.
yeah,
I just when I saw what it was, and again, it's nothing against anyone there, whoever arranged it. It's definitely a bigger space for a bigger
uh,
affair. I get that.
yeah,
Uh, as was good. And also, getting to speak with Sunil and Teague also
yeah. The whole
firsthand
team.
work
It
with
was
Square
so
Enix.
yeah, yeah,
And that is something that I would like to see come to fruition. Again, I don't know how it would. I have my own ideas, but again, that's just from my own experience
uh,
with projects and stuff. But I would like to see if and what the team do differently this time to put the word out for
yeah. Because
Final
that
Fantasy Part
was
3,
yeah, that
because
was
there's
your
a lot.
question as well, wasn't there, about marketing
Yeah,
and the
I
and the intention of the team, kind of, I think, and of how they were going to go about marketing and kind of getting the word out there and reaching newer fans, or just expanding their reach, basically. Because
and I
I think
liked that he
yeah,
was honest. By the way,
uh,
Hamaguchi-san, because I know I put him on the spot with that, but from my perspective, it's like and you probably agree yourself, is this game is so big and so good. Like, why have only under at the time maybe 1.5, 2.5 million people played it when there's 8 billion people on the planet? You'd think that this game can and should get into more hands on more screens. Like, it's just a no-brainer. And and again, this is where, from a business perspective, I play the contrarian for this very reason. A lot of marketing isn't about sales, it's about exposure, be it to
yeah,
a brand or a product. And so for someone like me, who's not really big on personal social media until, recently, mostly on X Twitter, but if there's people like myself and even yourself who's very low key on social media, you've got to
mm,
ask, how do you reach those people? Because then the caveat
yeah,
is, I also don't have I have Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, like subscription, a Crunchyroll subscription. I don't
yeah,
really have anything that has advertisements on TV. So you got
yeah,
to ask, how do you reach those people that just don't spend their days glued to a screen? And it's a
yeah,
challenge, but I think it's one worth solving, because it doesn't mean that we don't play video games just because we're not on our screens all day. There's a
yeah,
very, very big difference there. I
yeah.
think what they're doing on Twitter is good, but I also like the fact that Hamaguchi-san was like, yeah, we've got to think about this, because no one has the answer right now, because no one knows.
Yeah,
But it's clear.
that was a very human kind of moment, because it kind of when he was answering that question, he told us that was a problem of the business kind of marketing team, and then he also pointed out that there was marketing team members in the room at the time, and that I think it was you or someone else also said that they didn't even know Final Fantasy 16 with Clive, the one with Clive
That was me.
was
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
I
that,
saw it on a
and then you
bus.
only saw it, on a bus ad, and then
Yeah.
someone made a joke that they were like, make a note of that, like bus ad works or something like that. Um, so it was also really funny because the merch that I got signed was a poster from Shoryu Ramen, which is a UK based ramen like chain.
No way.
So when I went to get it signed, the translator, Gary, I think, or Gavin, sorry, I forget his name, was very, he wanted to point that out to Hamaguchi-san. So it's like, yeah, they are trying, but it's just whether or not it's reaching enough people, basically. Yeah,
Yeah, I
is the
mean, I
question.
don't know if it's my place to say whether it's here or personally, but just from the personal branding experience, I have so many friends that are doing so well in personal
Yeah.
branding. Um, I think Twitter is where more discussion takes place, absolutely, or
Yeah.
X now. But one thing people are missing on there are spaces. Like, you imagine people like Sunil or Teague, just with the accolade of saying, I'm a director of social media at Square Enix. Instead of talking about the game Final Fantasy, if they come and talk about, what it takes to be a social media director of a big company like that, the amount of people, then this is where, I would be honestly casting my fishing net, by the way, is at that kind of audience dynamic. Because you already got, it's easier to sell to your existing customers. That's like one of the first rules of marketing. It's always going to be easier to sell to existing customers. Absolutely. And then you already know who the gaming community are, and you already know how to reach those because they already exist in the gaming community. But then for people that aren't aware, but may have a console in their house or may be considering getting a gaming PC, already have one, that's where you kind of need to cast that net and just bring people in through other means of conversation. Obviously, their plates are probably full. So, who am I to? But if I was in their shoes, I would probably think, you know what, I'm going to be more relatable, because if people start to put, and it's not to say they're not relatable, but let's say more approachable. And so people can make with them on a space on Twitter or X, you build that individual but brand loyalty at the same time. You've just gained yourself a new component of trust. And that's going to be someone who would think, you know what, they either want to support the work or they become genuinely interested. But either way, it happens, the purchase gets made. I think that's the real important piece here in not just Final Fantasy and Square Enix, but a lot of industries are missing that trick. Is that Elon Musk, very clever with what he did with X. He bought it and then become one of the most active people on there. And honestly, all it's done is boost the support for him. Like, okay, you get a lot of people that hate him, but then you get this huge vocal majority in favor of him at the same time. And, just watch him post on his platform. People know he's barely going to respond to them, but they will pile in on a post that he makes because they want this parasocial relationship where they can feel closer to him, even if it's one-sided. And I think Hamaguchi-san's already doing it. He's doing the interviews. He's more active on X and Twitter now, which is obviously great to see. And so I think he's already getting ahead of the curve with that. And it's a question of, are there any other platforms, or do we just go hard on this one? Because it's very hard. You don't want to spread yourself too thin, but at the same time, you kind of got to know where you've got momentum and just double down on it. He's doing it good there, but I'm wondering, is there something more that Square could do as a whole to drive this Part 3 ready ahead of time?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think he is laying the groundwork, because I think even though the game isn't like a live service game, because I think what we're seeing with phone games and these like Call of Duties and stuff, they're becoming more like constant updates, a live service. And in those, the development teams and the directors usually are active on X or Twitter, or like they're more well known by the player base. But because this is a 3-part game, like they might have gotten on it too late, but I think he's getting in a good spot now with Rebirth to at least lay the groundwork for Reawakening or whatever the third game will be. So
that's going to be some fun, that name.
yeah, when we get to those names.
I saw an interview, I believe it was from the LA team, 2 staff members with Hamaguchi-san, and I believe it was the producer. I'll have to double check this. It was on YouTube. But then there was one segment where they basically, it's briefly touched on about not having to have prior experience with the original 1997 Final Fantasy VII in order to play these two, and that, playing them together in order is the best way. And I do genuinely believe it. I think anyone that comes to Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth with no prior exposure to the original 7, I think they're just going to be in for a great story more than anything. I don't know if, again, this is where I'm just curious to see, and I would love to find someone that hasn't played the original but plays these and see if they feel like there's any gaps in the experience. You know, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So I'm going to do some digging, see if we can find some like.
One of the chosen 7, or that the knight didn't play the game. I think we should
track them down, put a sack over their head, throw them in the back of a van, bring them here, interrogate them, interview them, and then we release them back into the wild. I think
exactly.
That's Damn, I did not know that. It's good. I didn't know that because I'd have not let them go home afterwards. I had so many questions.
I think if it wasn't so late when we finished and so dark, we would have hung around for a pint somewhere. So
yeah. So on the note of PC, I just wanted to mention I did not know what a Steam Deck was until 3 days ago.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, but this was a big thing, you know. I saw. So obviously we've got the release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming to PC January 23rd, a matter of days. And one of the common things that I kept seeing was, will it be Steam Deck verified? Will it be Steam Deck verified? No idea what that was. I looked at a few articles. It just talks about Steam Deck. I did not know it was a handheld. Is it gaming PC or gaming console? What's the correct term here?
I do not know because I don't personally have a Steam Deck. So I think it's a gaming. It's an extension of a PC. So I would say gaming PC. Kind of puts because you need Steam. You need the Steam account, which is on your PC, to access your game library, right? So it's a portable PC, is what I would say. But it's also because PC is a console. It is a console as well. So I
guess if you're traveling and you're on the go, it can be great fun, right? I definitely would just want to enjoy it so much more on the big screen, but people seem very happy that it's now being Steam Deck verified. So kudos to them. I know Square Enix are also doing a limited Chocobo version of the Steam Deck.
Yeah, I saw that too. It was very cool.
Not a joke, right? Real, isn't it?
No. I think it's real.
Looks cool. Oh, I would love that. I mean, it just go nice on the shelf next to old Sephiroth there. But I mean, I am very curious because I used to have a gaming laptop. I gave it away to a family member, my brother, because I never used it. I think I played Sea of Thieves on it once, and that was all I ever did. It was a Windows. I'm a Mac man now. But people that are going to be playing on Ultra, they're going to be able to play 2160p, 60 frames per second, and obviously, you know, we've already seen that it's got the 4K and what I think it's 120 FPS capability. I could be so wrong on that, so I do need to double check that because that's important not to get that wrong. But just that in itself, I mean, I don't know personally if I would notice a vast difference in the graphics until I see them side by side. But I'm going to be looking out for it. I think once those releases come through, I want to see someone playing it on max spec. I imagine the motion is going to be phenomenal compared to console. I played it on just standard PS5, and I thought it was great. I don't care too much about, you know, the frame rate and stuff when you're playing a game like that. But I've seen other people go mad about the frame rate, the lighting, and other stuff. And honestly, I didn't encounter any bugs when I played that game. I really didn't. And so I have no criticism of it there, apart from the dog side quests and the chicken side quests. They just it made me hate existing for about an hour. That's how long. It feels a lot longer, of course. But other than that, no problems. But I think, imagine if someone had, say, at least a 40-inch, 42-inch TV or even bigger, got the capability while hooked up to the PC to get that maximum spec out of it. It would be pretty awesome just to see how detailed those graphics become when you reach the of it. I think it's I'm excited for those folks that are going to be playing it on Ultra mode and beyond. I really am.
We should do a reaction over the PS5 of like the comparison. That'll be interesting to see. Because it was an issue, not for me personally, but I did understand the issue when it came when Rebirth first hit the PS5. Obviously there was the performance versus the quality, and then they released an in between, like Performance Plus, now on the game. So, it was a bit choppy there, but it didn't affect gameplay. And if you wanted gameplay, you would just turn down your graphics, right? So, I think it's interesting though, because obviously the PC specs, there is that hardcore gamer aspect to this where they want to play on Ultra. But then you get the Steam Deck as well, where people are excited to just be able to play it portable. Obviously not the best graphics, but it's portable. So, I've got a few ideas about like where the game's headed and whether or not development's been effective for Part 3 because of their plan to go multi-platform, or unconfirmed plan for multi-platform for stuff. So it's quite interesting kind of space at the moment, and Rebirth's kind of paving the way for possibly a greater launch, for greater success for Part 3. So it's interesting, and it's very they definitely watch the space, because it's whatever they achieve with Rebirth and stuff, it's just going to be interesting. So.
Will we be able to, view a fair comparison? Like, for example, if I'm watching a side-by-side comparison of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on the PS5, PS5 Pro, and then Ultra spec on PC, would my MacBook or TV be able to show a fair comparison, or is that going to limit what's visually presented?
I think from what I understand, you like side by side comparisons, depending on how the video has been uploaded, can like on and where it's uploaded as well, like if it's YouTube or something. Okay. I think there's already stuff on X about it, so we'll probably have to deep dive into that and see
I've seen those
comparisons.
Clips. But half the time I'm watching them on my MacBook, and so
true. And I'm only watching it on my phone, so whether or not we can actually see the detail will be interesting. More research to do.
PC release January 23rd. Very, very soon, round the corner. And the beauty of it is PC players get 30% off both single and bundle versions.
Oh, wow.
Both
that
on Steam
good.
and Epic Games. Obviously, we're not getting paid to say this. We have no affiliation, but I think that's amazing for these guys, because it is a brand new game for PC. Sure, it's already been out on PS5, but that doesn't mean it's not a new game for PC. But to come in straight off the bat with 30% off, I think that's an amazing deal. And you may as well just get, I mean, if you want to get the most out of the experience, that's why I personally would say you get the bundle. You start with Remake, go to Rebirth, obviously for continuity and story composure, but also it's a case of, you finish Remake and you're like, damn.
Sure,
what do I do now? Wait. Obviously you don't have to wait now, but man, you can give a good year playing that game, just taking your time, especially with Rebirth, enjoying it. And if you want to do it up until Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, if it comes out, joking. There's that nice little segue too. There's a nice way to put it. So I thought that was a great move by Square. You've made our very entry very low to enter. Sorry, the bar's very low to enter to play Remake and Rebirth on PC. And honestly, for a game with that capability, as a die-hard PC player, as much as I might not agree with them on some of their complaints, it's a game they should absolutely play, because they've got the power for it. They've got the capacity for it. You may as well put it to the test and enjoy something like that, man. You really, really should. Before we wrap up, just wanted to get your thoughts on something not Final Fantasy related. Nintendo Switch 2? What are you thinking?
Yes. Yeah, I'm thinking very excited for it. And also Final Fantasy Rebirth and Remake being ported on there. Who knows? Might give the Steam Deck a bit of a run for its money. But man,
will you
very
be
excited for it. Yeah, I mean, with Switch, I was kind of umming and ahhing, but I was in Japan at the time, so I just did grab one. It did sell out over there, so I expect the Switch 2 will be selling out here as well. So,
I
what about
thought
yourself, Ash?
great. So my loophole is I would buy so I bought the Switch for two friends, very close friends, a bit younger than myself, who they're like brothers to me, younger brothers to me in America. I bought a Switch for them. We're going back to 2019, maybe. Yeah, I think
Wow.
it was 2019.
Yeah.
And so that was my way of playing it there. And also for my little nephew. So, I don't have to justify buying all these things for myself, buy them for them. And also consoles where I want to play with groups of people. The Switch is
Yeah.
absolutely that console. And so
Yeah.
I did see something on X today where, it's someone who basically posted their take on X, and it was challenging people that were complaining about the specs and release of the Nintendo Switch 2. I actually agreed with them. There's a lot of people complaining, a lot of people saying, oh my God, it could be so much more powerful. Look at all these other things out there. I think you're losing sight of what Nintendo does now when you're demanding power for the sake of power, and a specification. Because Nintendo is, in my opinion, and from my experience, anecdotally, the one console that has been able to keep the real fun in gaming over the years. Mario Kart, Smash Bros. You don't have that experience on other platforms. You just don't get it, in my opinion. That for me, and okay, it's only 2 games, and so you can, say I have no idea what I'm talking about. It's not a fair comparison, but the fact that you can create that experience with just 2 games, be it Mario Kart, Mario World, Super Smash Bros., that does more than whatever. And it's not to say that the other consoles are losing. It's just Nintendo being very, very clever, in my opinion. They've picked their target market. They picked the niche that they want to go into, and they've done it, and it's worked. They did it with the Wii. And the Wii, I don't know if you remember, the Wii was sold out for so long here in the UK. In fact, when I was younger, that's how I started a lot of entrepreneurial endeavors, was buying Nintendo Wii pre-orders and reselling them on eBay for over £300.
Wow.
I made an absolute living off Nintendo Wii's back in the day.
Wow.
How in demand they were. So yeah, I mean, look, I love the original Switch design. I like the color accents, the red and the blue.
Yeah.
I thought it was done really well.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to reach a new audience now with the more minimalistic and sleeker design. It's not the end of the world for me, but it was definitely, distinguishable when you saw the original Switch, in my opinion. It had Nintendo written all over it. So I think as long as the element of fun is there, I, definitely want to play the next Mario Kart release, definitely want to play the next Smash Bros. That'll be it for me. Those two, maybe a Pokemon game, whatever comes on there next.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
In a long time, but that's what I'd be looking forward to. So I might not get it straight away. It might take me a long time, or might end up buying for someone else just to play it. But eventually, yes, I will definitely be entering the Nintendo Switch 2 space. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool reveal. And yeah, I think with all the speculation that's been around it, I think it was a good time to do it. And Nintendo has historically been, I totally agree with your statement about keeping the fun, or managing to maintain the fun in games, because I think, it's become so much more serious now, and obviously we're having arguments about Game of the Year and game awards and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's just all about the fun, and Nintendo does that well. But that's probably the only console I can play any games with my parents with. So like Mario Kart,
That's the best part. Have fun. I think it's going to be a good year for gaming. We're just at the beginning of the year. We haven't even turned around.
Really exciting.
Yeah. There's a lot to look forward to, so we can definitely, get onto it as and when it comes, and discuss and share more of it. We've got the new release of Grand Theft Auto supposedly coming this year. I'm not taking a piss. I'm just saying as it is supposedly coming. Plus, Remake, Rebirth now coming to PC. Obviously, Remake was already on it. But Remake and Rebirth bundle coming to PC. Massive year for, the fact that I've seen so many people when Final Fantasy is mentioned on X or Twitter, it's always, when's it coming to PC? When's it coming? Well, it's finally here now, so I'm really excited to see.
I'm excited to see the discussion, and people's renewed kind of a second release really for it. So
exactly.
So a lot more discussion and a lot more things to unpack. So it's going to be good.
Alrighty then. Well, I'm happy to wrap up there. Do you have any final words?
Final words. Not particularly, other than go if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII on. Now's a good time. 30% off on PC. It's a good time.
Yeah, because that 30% might not last forever. So
no,
better to be first. Better to be early than to be late. And oh yeah, final question for you. You can only pick one. What is your prediction for the title of Final Fantasy VII Chapter 3?
Oh no! Okay, I already mentioned. Only pick one. Okay, I'm thinking it would have been Reunion, but that's kind of off the table. So I would have it. I'm pretty sure it's because the Zack remake for Crisis Core was named Reunion. So I don't think they can use it again. Sorry, I just totally threw you a question there, but I think it's gonna be something like Restored or something like that. So that's where I'm going for at the moment. So
I mean, Restored, that could be meme hell if there was ever like a major bug with that game.
Yeah, true.
I don't want to. No, I have a complete faith in the game. I genuinely do with Hamaguchi-san.
Yeah.
I have. You already mentioned one earlier. You said Reawakened. I think that's a fair one.
Yeah.
I also have another one. This actually. Man, I'll say it
one.
because no, I have
you
the
put
name,
us on the spot,
but it closely links to a journal book that I recently wrote and released. And if I'm right and I beat them to the punch. If I'm wrong, then it's fine to
say it now. Do it now. We got proof. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because of rewriting history and stuff, so we'll see.
We've taken two different stances, because I'm thinking Restored of some set, and you've got so interesting. Yeah, okay.
Well, we'll find out.
We'll find out. Yeah, sweet.
All right, my friend.
All right, thanks.
We'll catch up again soon.
Yeah.
Take care.
All right.
Goodbye.
See you guys.